Welcome back to Lock and Reload. I now am a current owner of a Ruger P-85. Now, I don't see a whole lot of videos on the P-85. Not entirely sure why, so I'm going to throw a review and my take on this particular pistol. And my first impression of this pistol was pretty positive, honestly. Anyways, whether I own it or not, I try to be very biased as far as being very neutral when it comes to firearms review, whether I own it or not. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the firearms community that would say, hey, I bought a Ruger, this is the best thing on the planet. But you know what? There are worse guns out there and there are better guns out there. And I'm one of the first people to see that. So I try to be very unbiased. Anyway, Ruger P-85. I purchased this about a week ago. I got a reasonable deal on it. I paid like $269 for it. And I did take it out this weekend to do a function check to make sure it, works. Fires and does all the normal stuff a gun should do. Anyway, this is my new carry gun, and the whole philosophy of use why I'm carrying this gun and not my 1911 anymore, and I love my 1911. It's one of the most reliable firearms on the face of the planet. I like Springfield, but again, there are better guns out there. Not saying that this is better than my 1911 by any means. 1911s, as you all know, have been around for 100 years. Anyway, the Ruger P-85. This gun was brought out in between early to late 80s, early 90s. Now this is the P-85 Mark 1. They did come out with a P-85 Mark 2. Well, the Mark 1s had a few issues with sears and whatnot, and they got them straightened out with the Mark 2. Not all the first gens had that, but the second gens, they fixed it. Anyway, philosophy of use. Again, this is my carry gun. I'm going to go into weight. Weight is a big issue when it comes to me when it's open carry, because I don't have concealed carry, but I have open carry. And 1911s are just way, way heavy. Mine's like 44 ounces loaded and is 36 ounces empty. This gun probably weighs about 32, 33 ounces loaded. And some of the features on here is the magazine. First and foremost, this one is a 17+1. This is I believe it is a Ram line. This is not a factory mag. This is an aftermarket mag. This one did not come with a factory mag, so this one's 17+1. Generally, your Ruger factory mags will generally come with the gun. It will be a 15+1 round magazine. Anyway, this gun is unloaded. I did do my safety checks on it. The things that I don't really care for it. First and foremost, plastic grips. Ruger makes a fine pistol. They spend all the time and energy making a great pistol, and then they cheap out and put a plastic grip on it. Come on now. Ruger, if you're watching it, do something a little bit better when it comes to your automatics. I know your polymers, like your SR9s, are, they're molded. But anyways, get yourself a Hogue grip and call it a day. They're about 18, 19 bucks depending on where you go. Anyway, some of the features that are on, some of the features that I don't really care for, like the mag release. I do not care for the mag release. Mag releases are really, really tiny compared to, like, I don't know, a 1911. It's not the biggest, but it's there. You can tell it's there. You look at the XDs, whether it's the XDM or the XD, it's a pretty decent sized mag release. This one is kind of tiny. I don't really care for the ungodly huge slide release, but it is what it is. It's something Ruger installed. It's what they put on the gun, and it's functional and it works. I don't really care for the creepy ass trigger. Flat out, when you're in single action mode, because this is a double action firearm, when you're in single action mode, it's got to have the creepiest trigger. Just, yeah, before it engages, there, when it engaged. Not a huge fan of that by any means. But those are pretty much the only things that I really don't care for. And if that's all, that is not terrible. Oh, and the last thing is I'm not a big fan of the trigger itself. It just feels cheap and chintzy. So if they make an aftermarket trigger, I haven't really looked it up, put an aftermarket trigger in, maybe it'll take, you'll have less take up on the trigger. Positive points of this firearm. I like the fact that it's an aluminum frame. Not a lot of people like aluminum frames. A lot of people are, really into their, steel frame, or they're into their polymer frame. I like polymer, I like steel. You know what? I like the aluminum. Like I stated, I did take this firearm out to do the function check. In 13-degree weather, this thing did not fail me by any means. I had no failure to feed, although I did find out that this thing really doesn't care for Walmart Federal ammunition, or Federal ammunition that you buy at Walmart. It shoots it. No failure to go into battery, no failure to feed, no nothing. It's just inaccurate ammo out of this one. So I'll try a different cartridge, and mind you, this one is in 9mm. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm going to mention it now. It is in 9mm. So it is a Ruger P-85 9mm. I do like the fact that it has an ambidextrous safety. So it has it on this side, and of course, ambidextrous, you're going to have it on this side as well. I like the fact that it's double action. So you can run it, single action or double action. But the double action is always the first shot you can run it in double action. There's a lot of poundage behind the trigger in double action, like your most standard double actions. And after that first shot, then it goes into essentially single action, and it'll function like a 1911. I do like the fact that, granted, they're ridiculously small, but it does have an ambidextrous mag release. So it's got one on the right side and it's got one on the left side. Takedown of this firearm is a lot less components as my 1911, so it's easy to field strip this one. Easy to clean. If you have an ultrasonic cleaner, go for it. Easiest way to clean your firearm. You still have to use a brush in certain areas, but ultrasonic cleaners are the best way to clean your firearms, in my book. I do really like the 3-dot system. This is my first handgun that's got a 3-dot system. So we've got the 2 in the rear and 1 in the front. You can only drift the rear sight portion. You can drift that left or right for your windage, but you cannot do elevation or anything with your front sight. You can't drift that back and forth, whatnot. And depending on your mileage, that might make or break you as far as buying that firearm. But overall, this is a non-biased review, and even though I do own this one, I like it a lot. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, and there's a lot of things I do like. But my main concern is it functions, and will function in a situation where I need it to function. So if I'm in like an oh shit scenario, or somebody's just, being stupid and threatening my life in whatever way, or a bear is threatening my life, if I'm in a sticky situation, this gun will perform and it will function flawlessly. But again, your mileage may vary. At any rate, I think I covered everything about the firearm. Oh, and you may not like the fact that it's a little chunkier, but honestly, if you compare it to like an XD, they're really not, it's really not that all that much chunkier. Really not terribly. It is chunky in the rear end of it. And that's about it. Other than the fact that I love the safety features on here, because if you're open carrying it, you can put the gun, take it off safe, and it's in double action. Especially if you're running like a Serpa holster, there's no way in hell that's going to touch your trigger. So when seconds matter, you don't necessarily have to develop muscle memory as far as hitting your safety. And it is a little backwards as far as the safety. Usually you're bringing it down, or you're bringing it down to put it on safe and pushing it forward to take it on, to put it on safe. Anyway, the Ruger P-85 Mark I. This is Lock and Reload with Ryan. Later.